That should be
not.
sorted at the
Yeah,
very
Carl's
least.
muted for me. So okay, we'll just
Okay.
go on anyways.
Yeah.
We'll just go on anyways. We'll just go on anyways. Okay. I can't hear him. So, yeah, it's quite a complex area, and I think the first thing we talk about is Amazon. So on Amazon's side, and this is the thing probably people um were most interested in knowing about. So of course, Amazon went to the Tolkien estate first, and that's where they bought the rights because Tolkien sold movie rights for Lord of the Rings years earlier, and because of that, that is through the Soul Zant's company. And people say, okay, Warner Brothers have the rights. Technically, they do have the rights for movie adaptations, but it's more of a licensing thing. So it gets licensed to Warner Brothers, so Soul Zant's can pull that back if needs be. That's the situation around that, and the reason why. That's the reason why. Um, Amazon are able to make. Because people ask, why can they make a television show and not a movie? Because technically, for example, if like June 2025, Amazon can on that release date make a um Witch King television show, and technically Warner Brothers can make a Witch King movie and release it on the same day. Is that divided that that's the extent to which they can do that, and Amazon could, and that's due to what they actually have licensed because they have the Lord of the Rings books and the appendices. So so basically the appendices for um for Amazon and for what's it's called One Buzz, which I originally, for some who don't know, after the Lord of the Rings, instead of making the Hobbit movies, was actually originally thought that Peter Jackson wanted to do a young Aragon show. So that's actually a movie, my bad, and a young Aragon movie. That was actually contemplated by that. Would that have been interesting, Nikki, to see a young Aragon movie?
Uh, well, it was, as you guys all remember, it was also discussed for Amazon in the beginning. That's what people thought Amazon was gonna make. Um, yeah, it would be, but at the same time, doing a young Aragon show, they kind of run the risk of it becoming like a teenage romance story. I kind of feel like it is fantasy, but at the same time, it's about Aragorn growing up in Middle Earth, which kind of does feel like a little bit of a coming of age sort of storyline, which I would have loved to see it. I am not opposed to anything that will take me back to Middle Earth, but at the same time, I don't know. There are more interesting stories to tell in Middle Earth, I think.
I agree.
Hmm.
I would say that,
I'm
yeah.
here, Kyle.
Oh, perfect. There we
So
go.
continue.
Okay, we're all sorted out now.
There we go.
I totally agree with that,
Thank God.
Nikki. I just want to say quickly that, like, yeah, I think it's, I think that the young Aragorn thing is a really cool idea. I think it's 100% still on the table. But I think if Amazon or Warner Bros. Want to do that, they need to jump back into the franchise. And, I think Amazon's kind of getting there with what they're doing with the Second Age. They can start introducing Elrond, and then they can have Elrond and Celebrian, so I think they're in a better position to do that right now. But I think Warner Bros. Could do it too.
And I think Smash Bash said in chat, am I the only one who isn't really interested in young Aragon? To be honest, I was not really interested that much either in it, to be honest. Like, if the Amazon show was young Aragon, I probably wouldn't even had really the drive to leak it or even make and spend that much time on it. The reason that I really liked this second age show at the beginning was because due to the potential that Amazon could have had, because it was a bold move. Um, and of course, between them, those two, between Warner Bros. And Amazon, we'll get into how continuity will work in a second. But Kyle, could you put on screen that article around the Variety one?
Yes.
So effectively, what's going to be on screen right now? So what is happening here? Warner Bros. Have have it licensed to them that they can use. They can make a movie based on Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, and the Appendices. But because it's licensed to them, if Soul's aunts don't see them as a like they're not making content because we haven't seen something really since Hobbit, I think 2014, 2015, and then of course War of the Rohirrim that's been pushed back a lot because what could have actually happened in this deal is that if War of the Rohirrim was not developed further enough, it could have just gone fully cancelled. So lucky actually that that did not happen in the end. And Nick was quite interested. Are you actually excited or looking forward to this War of the Rohirrim?
Yes, yes, I am. I love anime. I love that kind of drawing style that we've seen that they're designing and developing. And it is fascinating because it's one of those stories that's just completely taken out of, you know, um, what we sort of know and love from the Lord of the Rings. There is hopefully not going to be any hobbits. But
Imagine. Oh
I
my god.
I would love to see that story because I mean yeah, the Rohirrim for me, um, they're loyal, they're noble, they're beautiful people, and I would love to learn more about their story and seeing it in that kind of format gives them a lot of freedom to make it even more high fantasy. And yeah, I'm excited, very excited.
Mhm. Mhm. I agree. And Carl, quickly, yeah, your thoughts on War of the Rohirrim?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea. I like the time and place that the story takes place in. I'm not huge on anime. I need to do some work to get myself into that. I just find it hard to get into that headspace. But I will. I will do my homework. I will make sure that I get into something. I've got a ton of recommendations for Arcane, so I might start there and see how that goes. But yeah,
And why don't people in the chat put some animes down that you can
yeah,
recommend for
give me
Kyle?
some anime animation, some recommendations so that I know where to start. But I think that the story itself lends itself really well to that medium. You know, I think it's a really cool kind of ghost story anime, in a way.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think something interesting around War of the Rohirrim is that it's one of the really only tales that doesn't involve Aaron heavily to some extent. Of course, he's pulling behind scenes behind the scenes, pulling the strings, but it'd be quite interesting that he won't have like a large presence than he would have in Rings of Power,
Mm.
or of course the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
that is
It
quite an
is a pretty
interesting.
cool thing, because I mean, at any given moment, at any given time, there are so many stories being played out in this world, and it's the same for Middle Earth. I feel like there are so many stories that could be told, um, that are linear, but at the same time giving you more of an in-depth point of view of the whole world, which is fascinating. And yeah, it's a very specific topic to choose because it's very, very narrow. Um, but I do still think that they can tell a lot of stories within it. And who's to say they don't build upon it at later stages and tell more stories? And that will take us to other places and other spin offs depending on what rights they get access to. So it's a good place to start. And it's important too to remember that for anime, it is they do have to tell, like, to avoid chaos, they have to be a little bit careful with how much they try to put into it. So Arcane is a really good place to start for you,
Cool.
Kyle, when it comes to anime. Also very soft anime, but Dragon Ball Z is
Mm-hmm.
great.
Yeah, I was into
Yeah,
that when I was younger, so I could get back into that.
yeah.
The only thing I've ever watched like that is Beyblade when I was really young.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Yeah.
Beyblade. Wow, you
Yeah.
would have been really young. Wow.
Hey, no.
Yeah.
I'm quite old. I'm quite old. But Beyblade, let it rip. That's all I remember from that. Okay, because I'm quite really old. Okay, but next thing we're going to be talking about is probably with the rights and things probably people get confused about the most, and is probably the most tricky and um I'd say it's the most intimate part of all of this is around the Hobbit rights, which
Mm.
should be on screen right now. So with the Hobbit, or actually in fact for movie rights, they are split The Zance company has the rights to make the film, but MGM have the right to produce it.
And
So
Amazon have
that's
just
how,
purchased MGM, correct?
yes. So this is where it gets really, really technical. So, and this is where we start to see the crossover. So I'll repeat that again. The Solzance company. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, Mr. Solzance. Actually, he died in 2013, but yeah, still rest in peace to him. Has the rights to make the film, but MGM have the rights to produce it. But MGM currently is under Amazon. So that is how that is shaping out. Vicky, are you confused or do you understand that? Be honest, it's totally fine.
I'm confused, but I'm also like it makes sense working as an actress and working in the film industry. I kind of understand it. What I do find weird about it is why everyone's so interested in that because I mean the film's already been made and it's been I feel like it's already been overdone. They can remake it and make it the way it was supposed to be made. Although I never hated on those movies at all. Um, but I don't know why not find something else? Like there are so many good stories. Why don't tell the story of Baron and Luthien? I know it's hard to get the
Oh,
rights to it, but
yeah.
oh my gosh, why not like fight for it instead of taking what's already there?
I
Yeah.
would extend that thought, not really to Beren and Luthien as of far right now, because um, there's still so much. Probably quite a while away for that. But look in the appendices, there is still so much there that Amazon Brothers,
Yeah, there's a lot.
etc. can.
Yeah,
And I think
I
one
mean
of them.
the 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 portion of the second age that's in the appendices is minimal, right? Like there's so much there's from the early third age, like there's a lot they can explore.
And actually, one thing that I do want to get up now, and this for me is actually the most thing I was actually wishing the Amazon show could be. And Carla, I'm sorry, I can do this.
No,
Put in
that's good.
chat is
No.
Angmar Wars. Imagine a television show on the Angmar Wars. That would just be
Yeah.
amazing. Let us know in the live chat if you would like the idea of having an Angmar War television show. Um, and I think while you're doing all that, yeah, Nikki, would you be interested in this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you're right. There is so much in the appendices as well that is worth looking into. And the Angmar Wars for sure is one of those subjects. They would I mean, the only challenge with that sort of stuff is that yes, there is a lot of things that you can choose to make stories about, but you need more content, so you need to flesh it out. So by choosing something that narrow, they are gonna have to flesh it out and add characters and storylines that don't really exist in the appendices. The appendices aren't written as story-like or dramatic as the Lord of the Rings.
Mhm. And sorry to
So
interrupt you,
yeah.
but that is basically what you're describing there with Angmar Wars is basically what Amazon's doing with the Second Age due to their rights, don't you think?
Yeah,
In a way, yeah.
it is. Yeah, in a way, yeah.
But for me, Angmar Wars would be a brilliant television show, of course, due to the political atmosphere between like Rudar, Cardlin, and also the fact that we have, of course, the Witch King in a more central role in this. It
Yeah.
would, and also we do get to see a bit of Elrond, the aid of the elves at some point as well.
Not to
Of course,
mention
but the
like
best
not to mention Glorfindel,
Glorfindel.
right? And like
Yeah,
I
there we go.
I think if you want to do like I don't mean in terms of like content, but like in terms of like tone and style, if you want to do a Game of Thrones type of TV show or movie or whatever, this is the story to do it with.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And I think, yeah, that would just be terrific. But the next thing I want to go into is I know we talked about is actually this is where the rights issue becomes even more narrowed and even more let's say like as I said before, it's really in depth, and that is around terms, phrases, etc. And Carl, if you can get actually a picture on screen of the Tolkien estate, and because the next thing is that actual terms, and we'll actually link this to potential video games later on. So, of course, Salzance works, of course, sometimes in cooperation with the Tolkien estate, but terms, Tolkien estate, of course, that's for the One Ring logo, that is, and phrases such as the One Ring, and I think even Lord of the Rings, etc., is all under the Tolkien estate. For example, if you want to see this as evidence, look at some YouTube channels. I think History of the Ages, and of course, actually the term Middle Earth, that is, also copyrighted because, and these terms, and then of course, as we continue, they cannot be used. So you cannot make a Tolkien society. Also, yeah, Tolkien's another term. And for example, if I'll get this up in a second. The Tolkien estate FAQ is pretty funny to go through, but I think Nikki, I'm not sure what it would mean if you were to make um maybe some of the, let's say, the merchandise maybe you were going to make. I think you would have gone away with it. The nice Numenor caps and everything. If you want to plug that as well,
Yeah.
your clothing brand.
I mean, yes, I have made them. But the thing is, if they were ever to sell on a massive scale, I would have to take them down pretty quickly. Otherwise, I can potentially get massive lawsuits. They have, like, that's what fascinates me about this whole thing because, um, they own the rights to this. They have trademarked it, they have copyrighted it, so that people actually have to apply to them to get the rights to make the products with that name. Um, so why aren't they making it? That's like the weirdest thing that I see. I see so many big companies that have copyrighted different names. Like Nintendo does the same thing for, say, Hyrule, Zelda, all of that sort of stuff.
The
So
reason
that
why is because Tolkien sold any of those rights back in 1960, I don't know, earlier, and I can see what you're trying to say, but he sold the movie rights, so technically they cannot make a movie. Whoever Tolkien sold the trademark to at the time, which I forgot who was, because I know it went from New Line, Miramax, New Line, etc. But even before that, Hen would know this. Because
Mm.
of that, they technically cannot. They could with the Silmarillion, which you're on about, which is correct, but that would
Wait,
take
are
probably a
you
lot of
saying
funding.
they can't make merch?
Yeah, they can make merch, but like not a movie, as per
No, but
se.
that's what
Like,
I mean, like for
okay, yeah,
merch, because
yeah,
I am making merch and I'm making all this geeky stuff. I'm getting ready to launch my shop, and I have these caps that say "Make Numenor Great," but I have to name them something else so that the algorithm doesn't pick it up. And then I have to make sure I take them down or have them only in limited edition because otherwise I'll get in so much trouble. Um, I'm not even sure if I'm gonna have them there, but we'll see. I just wanted them for myself. But the thing
no
that
problem.
fascinates me about it is that they don't make, like, they have so much potential. They could make the caps that I'm making, and it would take them 2 seconds to do, and they could put them up on a merch shop on their Tolkien estate website and make tons of money. And I don't know if they need it, but it's still not a nice thing to do for the fans. And
I
they
think
don't do it. No one
mm,
does that. It's so weird. And the geeky stuff that you can find, it's just shit. It's just stuff that it's just so overly in your face geeky. It's not even classy. And it's just like, ugh, I don't want that. Anyway, that's rant over for that. Um, yes,
well, I'm
thank
sorry
you.
to make it a bit worse for you, but for example, we're on the Tolkien Estate website right now. Can I get permission to reproduce Tolkien images in the book I am writing?
No, you
Um,
cannot.
Request made directed to the Bodleian Library. Okay. Can I make copy of Tolkien's works for other purposes? Are protected by copyright and may not be copied. Of course, the maps of Middle Earth, the One Ring inscription and other images. There we go again. The One Ring and other
Like the thing
inscriptions.
is, if you wanted to, you could, but you would need to have been in the sweatshop business for about 3 years and have proven massive sales and be like a big shop. Then you can apply for rights and then they will give them to you. If you're just a nobody who wanted to make cool geeky stuff that is a little bit more wearable in everyday life, like me, you don't have the rights, and they're not going to give it to you
Yeah.
anyway. So it's
And
fascinating.
this is where the Tolkien estate and I think Peter Jackson originally clashed, and that lawsuit which ended with the beginning of the Hobbit movies was around the fact around merchandising and the sales they would get from that, because of course the trademarks. I think this is what someone said here is, I think Rox M has said correctly, Tolkien estate retains all trademarks except those exclusive to their films, like designs of sets and costumes. And again here, can I use a Tolkien image in marketing or promoting my goods or services? So we do this basically, does not give permission for use of its copyright work. Actually, we don't use, Kyle, you know the picture of Tolkien that we used for this video?
Yeah.
That is under, that would be under fair use, because I don't think the Tolkien estate own that one, right?
I'm not sure about that one.
Okay.
It's technically also Creative Commons because we've taken it and made something new out of it. So there's like weird loopholes, and I mean, they're really not going to go after small claims like this. This is not to protect them from that. They can, but this is really, for the bigger stuff that ends up becoming problematic for them.
And I'm gonna stop self-snitching on Village fans now. Okay. So this is an interesting one. How do I set up an official Tolkien club or society? Tolkien clubs and societies require license to use the Tolkien name, which is a registered trademark. The estate will consider, amongst other things, the proposed objects, constitutions, and management of the club or society when determining whether license will be granted. And it's actually funny because I was actually talking to someone quite close to the Tolkien Society. They knew about. They said they. I think the problem with the Tolkien Society, I even spoke about this to them, is their enforcement of all this.
Yeah.
Is really low.
Yeah. There's actually a really good question in the chat here. Thimber says, if you want to make merch related to Loader and The Hobbit, don't you need a license from Middle-earth Enterprises, or have they sold the rights already? So yeah, there's that component of it as well. There's the estate, which holds certain aspects of those rights, and then there's Middle-earth Enterprises, which has merchandising and films and things of that nature. But the estate still holds rights over a lot of that too.
It's a jungle out there, guys.
Yeah.
It's amazing that they've even managed to make anything from it, but I'm glad they did, and I'm glad they keep trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as I was saying earlier, when I was talking to someone quite close to the Tolkien estate, I was explaining to them. I don't want to I was snitching, but I was saying like, you're saying all this, you're putting this all on the Tolkien estate official FAQ, but in reality, you're not actually doing anything about it. Like, for example, there's so many different Tolkien societies out there, because you have the actual official one run by Sean Gunner and good friend. Of course of course theirs is official, because I think a lot of the Tolkien family are part of the board, but the other one, I'm sure there's so many international Tolkien societies that technically get down like that, and I'm sure a lot of YouTube channels as well. I think Fellowship of Fans, what we're lucky about is that if anything was to go down, it'd probably be Kyle copywriting, striking me.
Yes.
Because he's made everything, but please don't do that. But
I'll keep it at the back of my toolbox there.
Right.
I kind of feel like they're kind of half like this rights thing has to be done right, because otherwise they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot, because it's like you want people to talk about this. Amazon wants people to get hyped up or discuss the show so that more people see it, more people hear about it. It was the same for the movies. There was a reason why Peter Jackson let the people from The One Ring onto the set. He wanted stuff to be talked about.
Yeah.
So you can't be too hard on it either, because then no one will want to talk about it because they only get in trouble. So it's just I think they're just safeguarding themselves against other people making lots of money out of their trademark. And also Tolkien Estate, of course, is trying to protect Tolkien's writings. Middle Earth Enterprises is trying to protect their part of it. And Amazon, of course, is trying to keep everyone quiet about what's going on.
Speaking of that, Dark Winter in the chat says, are they at odds with each other, or is this an attempt to get Amazon to buy them out? Which is kind of a really good way to segue. Fellowship, I don't know if you want to speak to that.
As to the question, are they at odds with each other?
Is this an attempt to get Amazon to buy them out? Which I think is a really, really good question.
I don't see just because of the fact that Warner Brothers, they've just had a complete, haven't they just been, something happened along the lines, of course, with, I've forgotten the other company, that just something's happening. I know, like, for example, with the DC side of everything, that's basically going to get overhauled, and with the fact that War the Rohirrim has gone ahead. I would have said if War the Rohirrim had gotten cancelled, because that happens so much, War the Rohirrim had gotten cancelled and not gone forward with being produced by um Warner Brothers, and I think, yeah, Amazon could have easily had a chance to, go buy the rights, but I don't think Amazon will be able to at this moment in time go and just go out there and just buy those rights. I think it's more of a power play rule, power play, and then, yeah, that's how it's going to. No, I'm not sure, Carl, if you wanted to add anything along those lines to that, but I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I would agree mostly with that. The timing is interesting, and I think
Hmm.
Amazon is still going to wait and see what the show's success ends up looking like. And if it's a
Yeah.
really big success, then I'm sure they'll want to invest more into that.
Yeah. And I think, as Dark Quinter said, it was Scott Warner's animated movie. Yeah, the fact that that's still going ahead,
Yeah.
because first it was being pushed back to 2024.
Unless
It's so far back.
the other part of that is like the grandfathered rights, right? Like so they would have grandfathered rights as long as they've started production from a certain date that they can continue with that production no matter what happens with the rights. There could be
Yeah.
something there.
Yeah, it could be as well, but I think the fact that it has been pushed back to 2024 maybe shows that maybe I think Hen says there might be something happened that something's been delayed,
Yeah.
because 2024 is still quite a long time for that.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
onto this. Maybe this could be linked to Amazon, some may say. Can I publish fan fiction or other books or material based on Tolkien's works? The Tolkien estate has the duty to protect the integrity of Tolkien's original writings and artworks and takes copyright very seriously. This means that you cannot copy any part of Tolkien's writings or images, nor can you create materials which refer to the characters, stories, places, events, or other elements contained in any of Tolkien's works. Yes, again, that's not getting reinforced. That's never going to get reinforced. You're going to take down half of Tolkien YouTube
Yeah.
and all the other podcasts, because like, cannot create materials which refer to the characters. Like, that's probably that's really restricted. Like, for example, our Tolkien Reading Day video.
Yeah.
If that was the case, that would have 100% been taken down. But then the reason we're allowed to speak of it this freely is because, again, enforcement is the main thing. Yeah, as Tolkien fans. Okay, hear about the movies. Okay, if you want to know about if they want to sell the rights to Silmarillion anytime soon, um, while understanding the wish of many fans to see the Silmarillion, Tolkien Estate has no current plans for any such motion picture. If Amazon's show becomes a success in the Tolkien Estate's eyes, or maybe they get given a lot of money, either way, I could see. What do you guys think down the line? Amazon having control of the Silmarillion rights, and them getting bought? Yes, no.
I would say it is likely if, like, I think the reason why they're giving the rights little by little, or not giving, they're selling them quite expensively, which as it should be, but I feel like they're kind of seeing what they do with it, um, and then they will decide whether or not to keep going. Because if they had sold all the rights, then they wouldn't have anything else to give. Um, so I feel like it's kind of a play on the Tolkien estates and Middle Earth Enterprises and all of that side as well. Because if the show does really well and it's done well and it increases in popularity and demand is massive for sequels, prequels, whatever else, they can
Hmm.
sell more rights for even more money. And they also then know that it will work out and that it will
Yeah.
be done justice to.
Hmm.
At least
Hmm.
for some people. I mean, there's
Yeah.
always going to be someone who doesn't like it. You can't please everyone. So, yeah, but for
Mm.
most people.
Yeah. And I think around this generally, I don't want Amazon to have the right summary. And the main reason why, personally, was that I'm not sure if they would change this for this, but who wants to see? Because first of all, if they buy it from the Tolkien state, of course, for the second age, they've already got the television rights because the film rights for that is already with the Souls Aren't, who are licensing it to Warner Brothers. But if they want to make some brilliant, Amazon can license, not Amazon, Tolkien Estate can sell the Silmarillion rights, movie rights.
Yeah.
They could. And who wants to see the Silmarillion movie not in cinemas and instead on, the opening day on the platform? Maybe they might have like a little, one off. This is the first time ever Amazon are actually putting movie in cinemas. But I could see, but the reason they're doing this is to get more people to, be on Prime Video to use their streaming platform. And what better thing than to get people to exclusively only watch the Silmarillion movie on Prime Video? And that's the reason I don't really want it there. Because even if whatever's happening at Warner Brothers right now, or they get sold off to someone else, I'd want to see that in cinemas. I'd just be like, imagine just seeing of course, whether how they do it, like I know CGI is having with the fall of Gondolin. In reality, are they actually going to be Balrogs riding off like the off on the back of dragons, and the city was being besieged? In reality, could that be possible? And the reason that happened is because Balrogs don't have wings, in fact. But but away from that discussion.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is why I think best if maybe not unless any of you guys disagree with me with that.
I feel like you cannot make just one Silmarillion movie. There are so
Oh
many
yeah, yeah,
stories
yeah,
in
yeah.
that.
Mhm.
It would be like if they were gonna make one, or even if they were trying to make like three of them, it's just it won't work because yes, the storyline is like alongside each other, but some of the storylines don't even cross paths. They don't even meet. They don't connect. There's no yeah, it won't work as just one movie. It won't work as a trilogy. It has to be something else, and it has to be way bigger than that.
Indeed. And as we scroll to the next one, where can I inquire about other film rights? Let's see, is the Tolkien estate wanting to, do all this? Um, Tolkien estate is currently unable to entertain inquiries about motion picture rights in any of J.R.R. Tolkien's works.
But to inquire, email Newline. Interesting.
Oh, I'm not sure which one. I'm under where can I inquire about other film rights? It's not saying that for me there. Maybe it's a lag or something. But can I report an infringement of copyright in Tolkien's works? Infringements of the copyright Tolkien's works can be reported to. Oh no! No one be a snitch and email this person. Please don't. Please
Yeah,
no one go
I'm
email Maya
gonna take
Blackburn.
that off the
Yeah,
screen.
yeah. We'll make sure we don't condone snitching here. Can I interview a member of the Tolkien family? I actually technically have already on the channel. Is one of the funny person. I've forgotten his name now. I'm really sorry to that Tolkien family member. He's quite young. He's like talking about when he used to go to banks and everything. Always people used to be like, "Oh, Tolkien, Tolkien." He's like, he's got fed up at this point. Um, um,
Yeah, I think you
yeah,
can like you have to remember that these people are people as well. And they have grown up with their grandfather, great grandfather, father being who he is. So it's like it's a matter of being respectful, but they're nice people, most of them. So you can email them and be like, "Hey, I'm running a podcast. Can I interview you? Hey,
yeah.
I would love to have you on my YouTube channel." And some of them will show up. I think Roy Tolkien, who's like the
Oh
grandson.
yeah, yeah.
He's really nice,
Great.
and he's also an actor, works in the film industry. He's very easy to talk to. And his son again, I believe, also is the same. There's a few of them, and then there are a few of them that like or prefer their privacy. So, but
Maybe
no
Simon
harm in
Tolkien.
asking.
Maybe.
If you have a reason, like if you run a magazine, if you're doing something specific in relation to Tolkien, there is no harm in asking them.
Hmm.
And also, I
Nick.
saw someone in the chat asking about Tom Shippey, and I still believe that he did the work that he was supposed to do, consulting on a certain part of the show, and then that was it for him, and that was it. Like you're employed, and then you're not employed anymore. You work on a project basis on a TV show, and his work would have probably finished sometime in during pre-production and script writing. He wouldn't have needed to be there for any longer than that. So that's my take on it. Of
Yeah,
course,
I
he
think
hasn't come out and said anything, but that's my take on it.
To add to that, I just think maybe I think what the thing is, I think maybe something did happen between Amazon and him, but his work had already been done. So I don't think he would talk ship. He would have actually done anything else further beyond, because when that interview came out, was either November or April, May 2019 with the German Talk Society. When that did come out, his work had already been done.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think
if he comes back on the future,
yeah.
as weather is probably likely unlikely, we're
Yeah.
not sure. But yeah, maybe something did happen there, did not. But yeah, I think
It seems
he
likely.
did break NDA. I think it's
Yeah,
safe to say,
it seems likely that both of those things are simultaneously true, because it did say in the Vanity Fair article that he gave an unsanctioned interview, and that's basically what ended it. But that's not to say that his work wasn't kind of already wrapping up. It's like it's same as John Howe, right? Like I think John Howe probably wrapped all of his work at the. I mean, he's a conceptual artist, right? Like there's not much concept work to do when you're 50% of the way through filming, right? Like it's.
Indeed, yeah, I agree. And Nikki, maybe we can leave this section to you.
What?
Where can I obtain official Tolkien merchandise? Let's click on this one. The Tolkien estate is not directly involved with the merchandise related to the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, and relevant inquiry should be directed to the Solzance Company. Can I sell Tolkien-related merchandise? You may not manufacture or sell any items that include the text of Tolkien's works or his artwork, nor may you use the names Tolkien or J.R.R. Tolkien or J.R.R.T. monogram or signature, all of which are registered trademarks. Tolkien Estate takes action against individuals who sell infringing merchandise on eBay, Etsy, Redbubble, and similar websites. Can I report infringing merchandise? Please don't do that. No, don't email that person. I think what is interesting, is it possible to name a building, park, or garden after Tolkien? See what they say. Yeah, registered trademark. Yeah, you don't get it.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is where. Sorry, go on.
Pretty much any of these questions are here to give the answer no. That's why they're on this page.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's like if you go on Etsy and you look up Tolkien, you'll find a whole bunch of small business sellers who sell them on small scale, and it's usually print on demand, which is what I'm doing as well, and they do limited editions. They will not usually go after them. They can, and you're always running a risk. It is something that I wouldn't recommend you do, but at the same time, I made the merch that I did because I wanted to wear it and no one else was making what I did. And if I emailed them and said, hey, can you do this for me? I'm pretty sure they would say, no, we don't do that. So then I have to do it myself. And if anyone else wants to get one and wear it, sure. But I won't be selling them for very long because I don't want to rip off the estate. I don't want them to get mad at me, of course, but I just want to wear it. I just want this outfit, you know?
Yeah, and I think Taki Senpai quickly asked how I'd want it. I would, for the Nazgul, I would basically have it, I think, more towards the books and see how that works. So I know you talked about the Highfells. That was after, of course, the defeat from the Men of Arnor. They were that's the location of the tomb. So it'd be interesting to see how how that would get recreated. I know the Hobbit did that in the extended editions, but
tried to
maybe Peter Jackson was a bit,
well, it's a tricky thing though, to be fair. That's a tricky thing on top of everything else they were trying to do. It just didn't
maybe too much on your plate. Okay, can I get permission to quote from Tolkien's works? Of course, should be addressed to HarperCollins. Information about permission to quote from Tolkien's unpublished works will be given to scholars consulting Tolkien archives. Interesting.
I mean, if you have questions about it, you just email them and ask. I'm sure someone will tell you no or yes. And I think it seems that they are willing to make individual considerations as well. So there'll be, like I said, if you run a big sweatshop and do collabs with other big companies like Nintendo, something like that, they will probably be more inclined to say yes. Of course, they would want a bit of the proceeds, so you need to get a deal with them. But there's no harm in asking. No one's going to be mad at you for asking. They're probably going to be more mad if you didn't ask and just did it.
Yeah, I agree. I think here's a really interesting one. can I get permission to quote from Tolkien's works? And it says actually the same answer as before. So interesting. Marquette University, Wisconsin. Very interesting. But yeah, can you use it in the marketing campaign? Um, you do not get copyright rights, except of course for Amazon, they can um have bought those. But I think for the okay, here's final one. Can I get information about the Amazon TV series? Who should we go to? Courtney Brown, AmazonStudios.com. Let's press. So if you want to go, actually no, we shouldn't be telling people to email this woman. She'd probably get bombarded.
Mm.
You've ruined in Tolkien, stuff like that. So maybe best not put that email on screen.
You would think
But
that at least Amazon would make merch themselves. I mean, they have uh,
we
they
will
make
get onto that in a
everything.
second.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you would think that they would capitalize on it. I just hope they do the right thing and make them look nice, because a lot of it is just cheap crap from
Well.
horrible factories, and it just doesn't look good.
Mm-hmm. And I know it's not official merchandise, but Amazon did manufacture, like due to I think from a company in China, these Lord of the Rings One Ring inscription bags that they gave to their crew. So that was something they've technically done already, but I will have to see. Actually, there's one final one show I actually want to read out, which is actually quite funny. Um, where is it gone? Where is it gone? Uh, where is it? Is it? Can I get a personal greeting or endorsement from the Tolkien estate or member of the family? They're not able to provide it. Oh, what a shame, shame, shame. But, um, someone Steve said, since Viking is not here, can we big up the elf slam down to the source on the recent poll? Oh yeah, that poll. We'll get that in a bit. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Yeah, but I think now next thing between Amazon and the Tolkien estate, which probably a lot of people have been um have been waiting for, and Carmen's gonna give you something now
Yes.
put up on screen. And of course, after this video, we'll actually try and get page numbers, etc., as well for how this works out. But between Amazon and the Tolkien estate, I think either what it sounds like right now, I feel like JD Payne and Patrick McKay are kind of doing this, but with a hand behind their backs in some way in regards to what content they can use and rights. Because we've heard more stuff, like for some stuff we can't talk about right now, because don't get people in trouble. But like there's some like terms and phrases that just legit just cannot be used. They don't have the rights to.
Yeah.
So yeah, this okay. But first of all, but where they have worked together, this star inscription image of Numenor, Amazon technically, well, the five-pointed star thing, I think how people say it, in order for them to be able to use that, they would have had to have taken that from Unfinished Tales. And there's a few more islands as well. So this shows, and some part, cooperation, there has been some. And when the original rights, when the original, we talked about this with the showrunner, we had with the failed showrunner, Simon Tolkien signed off. He had final say as to which bid would succeed, and he had to have interviews with him. So there's another way that we have of them working together. But it seems like at the same time there are some instances, of course, covering it some off screen, and sometimes where is being, and showrunners have even mentioned this, they have such limited ideas as to limited access to some stuff. Like, is it like, for example, as mentioned, Anatar is not mentioned in the Lord of the Rings at all.
Right.
Would the Tolkien, because if the Tolkien estate want the best for Tolkien's works and want the show to be a success,
Yeah.
I'm sure that has to be the main thing in their mind. If maybe changing if like they requested, like for example, they've clearly requested to use this appropriate star-shaped Numenor. If they said, can we use the term Anatar, that must at least, I think from the Tolkien state, if they want the show to be a success, they have to give it leeway somewhere to that. But legally, of course, they probably cannot. And it'll be interesting to see how that does come into play, because maybe Amazon won't be able to use Anatar. And in the end, I do get for is using the term Anatar not going to be the be all and end all for the success of the show? Probably not. Most people don't know who Anatar is. But will it be? This is basically maybe we're seeing that this is putting one hand behind JD Payne and Patrick McKay's and the showrunners and the creative team's backs if they are having to face this from the Tolkien estate. And I want to hear what everybody else's thoughts are on that.
Yeah, like you mentioned, the big thing that the glaring thing is this map that was the first thing they released. Really, this star-shaped Numenor, which is not described anywhere in the books that they say they have the rights to. There's also the possibility. I know this is kind of debated even within our group, but the peak of Meneltarma in the teaser certainly looks like it has a flat area. And that's another thing that wouldn't have been mentioned in the appendices or in the Lord of the Rings. And it's hard to say. Maybe they won't call it Meneltarma. Maybe they won't refer to it at all. They'll just say the mountain or whatever. But that's another thing that indicates that they're doing more than just what they say they're doing.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It's kind of like I work in animation and we make animated movies, usually in 2D, but a client can choose to purchase 3D elements in the 2D film because 2D is usually flat, but sometimes if you want like a drone and you want it to like turn around, you need to buy 3D elements. So you pay a little extra for that particular thing, but we're not making the whole movie in 3D. So I'm getting kind of those kind of vibes. So they have like this is what they have the rights to tell the story about, but they kind of purchase like the rights to use the Anatar name, the rights to use Numenor, the rights to use certain things, but not the whole of Silmarillion. So it's more like the appendices with elements from Silmarillion to be able to flesh out the story that they have, to be able to tell it the right way.
Yeah, and whether they're purchasing those rights or if the Tolkien estate's cooperating with them to say, the showrunners are writing the script and there's a detail they want to include that isn't, it contradicts something where it's written in the appendices, but they can't take it from somewhere else. I'm sure if they brought that to the estate, whether they're paying for it or not, there could very well be some creative collaboration there, just to tell the best story, right? Like.
Yeah, I mean they're not monsters. They're not vile creatures trying to ruin every chance Amazon has at making something that people want to see. They actually are invested in this. They want to see it succeed as well, because if it fails, that looks bad on both sides.
On everyone, yeah.
Both sides, it looks bad on everyone.
Yeah.
And it's not ideal. So they would want to cooperate. They're just trying to protect certain parts of the story until they've seen, I'm guessing, what Amazon does with it, and also to make more money, I suppose.
Of course, yeah, of course. It's a business. A business is a business. It's going to behave like a business.
And
so.
Yeah. And just to show, maybe to reinforce what Nikki was saying about they do want the best, for example, as we see on the screen right now, this map, the specific bit with the islands, like Tolmorin, Tolfurin, and I think those two, for example, with Tolmorin, it is only referenced in two places, in J.R. Tolkien's The Silmarillion, Quentin Silmarillion, The Ruin of Doriath, and of course in The War of the Jewels. That's the only two places, not in The Lord of the Rings, not in The Hobbit, not in the appendices. These are the only references for this island, and same for Tolfurin as well. But it's on the map. It's on the map, and I think again, Tolkien have clearly given some
There's some leeway,
stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and seeing to the extent as to which they want to, and if there is going to be more, then that's of course an exciting thing. If not, we're just going to have to wait and see. So I think that's another
the two trees in the first image that was ever released. There's quite a lot that is just like, okay, it doesn't really make sense based on what they've told us, but I also think they're giving us very specific information at very specific times to kind of make us trip out and get confused.
Yeah.
Because they want us to be pleasantly surprised by what we see when it finally hits the screen. They don't want us to be like, "Yep, this is boring. I already knew this was gonna happen." You know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting point. And I mean, the showrunners themselves said, I know I bring this up all the time, but the showrunners themselves, and we can only take them at their word at this point. But they're saying that they're using the first season as like a world building, character building season, and it's problematic for us because we've heard from the leaks, we've heard a lot of big events that are that just don't exist in the canon at all, and we've heard very little canon events. So that's why it feels weird right now. My head's starting to adjust to it. If the story's good, I think that's ultimately what matters. And by good, I mean many, like that means a lot of things. But there's certainly something to be said for that.
And Nikki, you mentioned the two trees and how that's a bit confusing, but in J.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings Appendix D in the calendars, quote, the calendars section, there is a reference in that. So technically, they can claim that they have the rights to the two trees. So that's how they've been able to manufacture that. For example, the same with Finrod and other first stage stuff. But I think final thing, Kyle, should we go to that thing around the Rings of Power, most recent news around that from the Solzance company? I'm not sure, Nikki, if you've seen this yet. Be quite
That's up now.
interesting. So yeah, so because I actually don't have it on screen, I'd have to get up first. Carl, could you quickly talk through it to the audience?
Yeah. So basically, was it Long John Silver on Reddit who had posted
Long
this?
John Silver, yep.
On Reddit had posted this originally, and it's this European Union Intellectual Property Office. So this is where you register trademarks, basically. We've had 2 new filings in the past couple weeks, I think. This was April 4th, I think this was filed, or April 5th. The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. So that's been filed as an EU trademark, which is normal, perfectly fine. But the interesting part is who has filed this is the Solzance company. So it's an indication that either Solzance is working in collaboration with Amazon, or they're trying to do a power move. And for me, I would hope the former. But it's interesting nonetheless. And there's actually, I'll just mention really quickly, there's 2 here. So this one is the Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, and the second one is just The Rings of Power. And they've specified what this trademarks, and it's merch, and it's clothing, and it's a ton of different things. So this is either Amazon getting the ball rolling on merch, or it's some kind of weird legal thing that I can't even wrap my head around. But it's exciting.
I like it. That's exciting. And Amazon, if anyone's watching, I know you are, Jeff. How's it going? Anyway, I have some ideas. So if you want to give me a call, I'm available anytime.
Yep.
But it seems what's it called? Mentioned that when we first reported it on the Twitter, in the end, due to the classes, the actual classifications, actual real thing they actually are trying to go for is they're covering electronic, downloadable, and online games and trading cards, and that's #9 and #41. Those are the categories. So yeah, and this may be looking at a video game, and whether
Trading
it is
cards
with
is
Amazon.
interesting
Yeah,
because
trading
they've
cards.
already have the Lord of the Rings trading cards. They didn't do that well, but they're still on their way to becoming like collectibles in the future. Because if you have an unopened pack, like Pokemon, 20 years from now, it could potentially be a big deal. So if they do it right, trading cards is a pretty big thing when it comes to collectibles that increase in value. So
Indeed,
the thing
yeah.
to secure their rights to.
Also, the Tritus said thank you for the $5 donation. He said, "Are any of you nervous about Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power making so many changes and adding new characters to Tolkien's world while dropping important story points?" So yeah, first of all, thanks for the donation. Secondly, that is a really interesting question, and I think there's 2 layers to that. Of course, you guys will get your say on this, but I'll have crack at it first. And I think the amount of new characters is quite is quite interesting to me, and not I'm saying on a worrying level yet, but for example, with this whole different actually a video coming out on this, like we have different storylines which are completely brand new, which like with the Harfoots and Meteor Man, of course, Arondir Bronwyn, what's ever happening there. It just seems like right now the show is 50-50 original and and of course the canon, and then of course you have these kind of made made up things by Amazon, um and dropping important story points. I think we'll see more story points in the second and third when we go on there. Maybe some of the end of the first. So I think I think we have to wait until the second season to really see how they have fared with it. But yeah, others to take away.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I don't want to see original stuff take away from the overall story and the overall themes of the Second Age. I think it can be accomplished with those things, and I think we had to reckon with this from the beginning that things were going to have to be made up to make this story work for modern television. Um, you know, the showrunners used the idea of having this documentary of the Second Age, which I don't necessarily fully agree with, but the point is you can't do the Second Age as a TV show as it's written. Just like you can't do, I mean, Peter Jackson certainly didn't do The Lord of the Rings as it was written. He did a great job. Don't get me wrong, I love those movies, but you can't do it as it's written. That's what an adaptation is. And yeah, there's parts of it that are fan fiction. That I would be the first to admit that. But if the story's good and it retains the overall themes and the events that we know are laid out by Tolkien in the Second Age, then yeah. But yes, I that is something I worry about 100%.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
sorry, Nick.
I agree as well. Like I've always been positive. If you guys have been following along, I am probably the one who's always remained like, but it's gonna be great anyway. Just give it a chance, guys. Um, After I saw the teaser trailer, I kind of felt like it was slipping out of my hands a little bit. I I kind of struggled to relate to how I felt when I first saw The Lord of the Rings.
Mm.
When I saw it, I didn't feel as excited as I thought I would, and it kind of broke my heart a little bit to feel that way
I
because
think
I have always
yeah,
been that excited and always that positive. But the thing is, um, yes, I am concerned about the lack of like there are a few characters that they haven't included that they probably should have, and there are a few very new storylines. But as what you need to remember is this is going to go over several seasons.
Yeah.
No series in the history of histories has ever released every single important character in the first season. There's going to be additions coming in, and you're going to get to see a lot more characters that we all know and love. But at the same time, as it is now in this world, like there are millions and billions of people out here, and you don't know, like you don't even know 1% of them. You don't, your life is never going to touch even 1% of these people. So there are people in Middle Earth that we don't hear about, that we don't know about, and they have to use them to flesh out the story. Otherwise, the characters that we are going to be following along are going to be less relatable because they're not going to have a life, they're not going to have friends, they're not going to have family, which makes it hard for a series. It's easier to do for a movie, but for a series, you need people around the main characters. And some of the characters that we don't know that Amazon has made up could potentially lead to a character that we do know. It's just that they have to create their story first to make them, because not all of the events are going to happen in the first season. So that's my thoughts on it. Yes, I'm a little bit worried, but I will still give it a chance, and I do still believe that they're going to bring in everyone that we feel like we're missing, and that it will all make sense in the end. Thank you.
Yeah, really well said
yeah.
from the horse's mouth.
Indeed, indeed. And I think even with I think you mentioned the trailer, like honestly, it was a bang average trailer at best. Like, I think you can all be real, but that's probably due to we weren't probably even the audience for that one. To be fair, it was Super Bowl people getting rowdy over games, like the general audience. But I think the problem is that even with that, some people still weren't that excited the general audience again. But also Steve, thanks. Nice to see Miss Bangin back. The legal stuff was interesting but stressful. Lol, got to go. Haha. Thank you, my friend, for contributing and yes, donating as always. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
And Nikki,
thanks for your contributions.
more love for you. Nikki,
What?
I think Steve has said, nice to see Miss Bangin back.
Yeah, I said thank you. I just did it non-verbally, but thank you so
Yeah.
much, Steve. It's good to be back. I've missed you guys, and I've missed talking Tolkien. It always feels like a part of me is missing when I'm not doing this on Fridays, so it's good to be back.
And I think someone else has mentioned time compression, and that is, of course, we've got a video coming out soon about time compression when that's a problem. For example, I think we talked about it so much now around the fact that the theme of like the hatred of the elves due to the longevity of elven life, a lifespan, and how that's going to be manufactured by Amazon in the show. Of course, Carl, me on the second aid show, from a lot of the leaks, we get elf hell hating, but is it inherent created reasons, or is it due to time compression? It can't really be due to this new Minorian empire being around for 3,000-ish years, but then getting and then realizing that they keep on dying due to the ban of the Valar, which is actually meant to be a gift, but then the rest stay alive. The elves stay alive. Of course, that's going to be manufactured in the show. That's an important theme of the Second Age. I think that's why a problem people, of course, Tolkien fans are especially worried. And also another $5 donation from Titus. Thanks all, and I agree with the panel. I'll be happy if the characters remain consistent with Tolkien's characters and not too much modern day allegory.
Yeah, well, there
Again,
shouldn't really
thank
be
you.
any allegory, right? That's not what Tolkien's about. So
Yeah, man, yeah, I agree, and I really do hope remain consistent with Tolkien's characters. I think that's the thing we all fundamentally want as well. So yeah, really agree. Thank you for the support, my friend.
Yeah.
And Nikki, yeah, well, of course, we were talking about time compression at the time. So yeah, I think time compression will affect that. I think
Huh.
we had,
We've had this
yeah,
discussion
Nikki,
a
go.
few times actually. We've
Yeah.
talked about time compression in depth before.
it's a big one.
It is one of those things that is I am nervous to see how they're gonna do it. Because if they do it like we've said before with The Witcher, I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to follow along until we're like halfway through the season. I'm gonna understand that, oh, this is a flashback. Oh, this is that. Oh, this makes sense. Okay. So there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. Of course, like if there are parallel events that are going to be running, they kind of have to make it make sense, I feel, instead of it just being like that because that was the easy way out. But they did seem to have a pretty big team at the start that were working on this and that were writing and figuring things out, and they had consultants. So I'm not too concerned about it yet. But I would have loved to see them drag it out, honestly. Any excuse to keep watching, and I wouldn't have been as opposed to them having a bunch of new characters that aren't canon if they did use that to be able to drag it out. But the fact that they're pushing in a whole bunch of unknowns, and on top of that, they are not stretching it out, I'm like, okay, so why are they doing it then? Doesn't fully make sense to me yet, but it might.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with all that. I'll try to keep this quick because we're over an hour in now. But if we're not going to get spin-off series that cover other parts of the Second Age, then this is the next best thing because we're going to get the whole story the other way. Someone in the chat's Smash Bash 123 just said, I really did not like what they did with The Witcher. And I think that's a really good point. Like, to have those simultaneous, multiple timelines going on at the same time can be confusing. It's hard to accomplish well. I think it can be done well, but it's hard. And at this point, I just kind of have to wait and see and trust that they've made the best decision to tell the story that they're trying to tell. So we'll see how that goes.
Agreed.
And I think yeah, Carl said we are over an hour in, so I think that's just about it, I suppose. Um, I think, yeah, I think there's anything new in chat. So, first of all, thank you, Nikki.
No worries. It's good to be back. Thank you, everyone in the chat, for talking and for being here and all your support. It's amazing. You guys are the reason we're doing this. It's not just our love of Tolkien. We're definitely not getting paid by Amazon, so this is why we're here. We're here for you guys. We're here for us. We're a community, and I love to be a part of it. So thank you.
Indeed, and also Penguin, Ken, and of course talking to you. We'll all be back, of course, over the next weeks as well. Also, thank you all of always to Kyle.
Yeah, of course. Always happy to be here. Great seeing Nikki again, and thanks everyone in the chat for an awesome chat. This was really interesting. So thank you.
Thank you everyone in chat, and I think until next time. In second aid show, actually, Kyle, do you want to hint at what we're talking about in the second aid show this Sunday?
Yeah, I mean we've got a little bit of a character race reveal, and that's probably all I can say for now. But it'll be a lot of fun. I think people will have a good time with this one.
Yeah, thanks for the real super fans.
That's right.
Yeah, we are the real super fans.
Yeah.
Indeed. Thank you, Smash Bash, and to everyone. I think until the next time, goodbye.
See you next time.